the loan officer or lender doesn't see anything that Brian has in his locker unless Brian gives Brad control to see this in order to help me with my goal or objective of mortgage readiness or to start my mortgage application. So,
welcome to Get Real 411, the podcast where real experts give real advice on all things real estate. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Brad.
Join us as we explore real estate successes and pitfalls through the eyes of our esteemed guests.
Now let's get real. So today we're super excited to bring to our listening audience Brian Vieaux from FinLocker, who we have known for, well, actually you longer than I, Jamie.
Yeah.
For several years.
Probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. And I've had numerous conversations with Brian over the phone and then had the pleasure of meeting him in person a little over a year ago. It was in San Diego, right? October of 21.
Yes.
When probably the first unmasked event within years.
Yeah.
It was mask optional, which was nice. But welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here and looking forward to talking with you guys.
Awesome. Well, today I know we want to learn a lot about FinLocker and what you're doing there. You left a pretty prestigious role in TPO, which is third-party origination for Flagstar, very large institution out of Michigan, which is where you're from.
Yes.
And to go join this somewhat of a startup at the time you joined them, and really is kind of a passion for you, and it's doing some unique things, and we want to hear about that. But I think it'd be great to start with just your background and
Sure.
How you got to where you're at.
Sure, no problem. It's not too exciting. Like most people that entered the mortgage industry, most of us didn't enter on purpose or intentionally. We just kind of ended up here. So for me, it was way back in the early 90s. I was charged with my then father-in-law to find a job that actually had benefits so that his daughter could go off of his insurance and onto mine. So I did the pre-LinkedIn job search, which meant printing out, your resume and driving around town and, papering the reception desks at different cool looking buildings that I'm like, I could see myself working in there. Had no idea what any of them did. And got a call back from a company that was a mortgage company. And so I took the interview, had a good conversation, and got a call like 8 hours later or whatever saying, can you come back in tomorrow? Oh, sure. I'm thinking I'm going to have a second interview. And they're like, oh, no, you're going to start tomorrow. And so my first day in mortgage was they gave me a stack of, messages. The message, each paper had first name, last name, phone number, and a number with a percentage next to it. I didn't know what that number meant, but my script was, if we could lower your 10% to 9%, would you be interested? And if they said yes, I passed it over to another person the loan officer. So I basically got in the first wave of, falling interest rates. Rates at the time were, double digit. And so,
what year was this, Brian?
Pardon? It was 1991.
What year was this?
This, by the way, is consistent with every training plan I've ever heard from any of us who started in the mortgage industry in the 90s. It always starts with, they handed me a stack of paper and they handed me a phone, and the rest was history.
That's true.
And, but there's, to me, the lesson is, because not everybody that started with me at the same time is still in the business 30 years later.
Yep.
Like anything, it's all about what you make of it.
Yep.
And you either make it or you don't. And so I must have done something right, because I made it through the first kind of 90 days. And then we had this first kind of rapid drop in rates. Like par rate went from like 9.5 to 7.5. Right. And so all of a sudden our little team of 10 had to quickly blow up to 50. And so 90 days in, I was a team lead because I was one of the first people there. So it just, it's right place, right time. But I literally learned the business from the ground up and pretty much was inside of every part of mortgage originations that you could be in, and then made a move from the direct origination side of the business, dealing directly with consumers, to the B2B, business to business side of the business, where I worked for divisions or companies that acquired mortgages from other lenders. So the TPO space, the third party origination space, is what, as you said, is what that's referred to. And most recently, as you mentioned, Brad, I ran the TPO business for Flagstar Bank, a long time, 28-year TPO player, kind of tried and true. Loved it, loved the team, loved the people, loved the customers. But what I started to see across my customers, our customers, was a gap in available technology for lenders of certain sizes. You had the haves and the have-nots in terms of available technology. And I also had visibility into this technology at FinLocker. And I started to investigate whether it made sense to match this FinLocker technology with the clients that I'm familiar with through my 20 plus year, career in third party originations. And long story short, there has been a match, and would love to kind of get into more of that. But really what I was passionate about at Flagstar was helping lenders help consumers become homeowners. And now I found a way to extend that help by actually helping lenders help consumers become financially fit and then become homeowners, which is really a different equation.
Yeah, look, that's really, really a big deal today. I mean, it is center stage. Financial literacy, youth not really knowing much about anything financially, let alone buying a house and what that takes. And so definitely FinLocker is filling a gap that's there, and we want to hear more about it. I think our audience will, because this is, like you said, not just for lenders. This is for lenders to help the consumer, but that's it's right. Really a consumer-centric application, correct? Yeah. So tell us a little bit, give us a high level, and let's drill down into it.
Well, and I can speak a little bit to that from, being involved in a group called Vetted VA, which FinLocker partnered with early on and offered the go bag to all of the professionals in Vetted VA and also to all of the consumers that we serve and help. And so as an example of the way that FinLocker has directly benefited consumers, they've especially done that for veterans, which I think is so important and so impactful. And so I would love for Brian to share a little bit more about what that looks like from the inside.
It's actually one of the best stories to tell about how our product matches the consumer and the lender. But what I'd like to start with is the Vetted VA team first, because their mission is unbelievable. So, for any of your audience that are, veterans or in the military or have families that are in the military or connected, the VA loan, the Veterans Administration loan, is one of, if not the best mortgage loan product for any consumer. Now, not any consumer can get it, right? You earn the benefit of having the ability to access this VA loan. But like anything in terms of financial services or any consumer product, there's bad actors out there. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, especially when you had all the low rates and streamlined refis, there have been and there are lenders that take advantage of certain segments of consumers. And what Vetted VA created was a community where veterans seeking homeownership could ask questions to a panel of vetted professionals, right? And the community is based on this concept of no solicitation. So this is a place where I, as a veteran, can ask if I am getting a good deal. So I've got an estimate, a loan estimate from a lender. I don't know if it's the right deal for me. So I go to the community, I ask the question, I maybe share the terms, and I watch the community every day give very honest, impactful feedback to the veteran. And in a lot of cases, they tell the veteran, that is a great deal. That's the right structure for you. You should move forward. And in other cases, they'll point out where they could do better. And so when the team was really kind of building up that community, I was just making my move from Flagstar, which is where I first met many of the vetted professionals at Vetted VA. And I kind of thought our product is really engineered for this community. And so Christopher Griffith, who's one of the coolest people in the world and planet, let alone in the business.
We can attest to that.
Yes, agreed.
He immediately saw the value of the FinLocker product. And he said, this is the financial go bag for a veteran. And I'm like, I don't understand. I don't get it. So he had to educate me that, the military, when you're out there, you always have your go bag packed and ready for any situation. Most of the time, those situations are going to be pretty hairy, right? And so what he explained and what he continues to share and the whole community shares is that most veterans aren't financially ready for a transaction, any transaction, let alone buying a home. And what we've been able to do with them, with our product, is create a financial go bag. It's fully packed with all the data and information that the veteran needs so that when it's time to buy the home or refinance the home, everything's right there connected, and they can share it directly, securely from the go bag to their vetted professional to initiate a transaction. So I love the go bag analogy because it just really paints the picture of what we've built, which is this consumer financial readiness tool.
So yeah, tell us exactly, break it down. I'm a consumer. I know nothing about FinLocker, but I do know I need some financial education. I'd love to figure out how I could buy my first home. How does it work, just step by step? For example, going to the website, creating a free account, whatever it is, and then what you input and that sort of thing, and then what you get out of it, just so that our audience can really vividly picture this.
Perfect. So I'll start by saying FinLocker as a product and as a brand. Sorry for the upper Midwest respiratory thing here.
It's going around.
It is.
FinLocker as a product and as a brand is not available directly to consumers. We partner with financial services providers, mortgage lenders, banks, credit unions, and then they offer our product under their brand to their customers, their prospects. So first and foremost, if you're watching and you're, Googling, looking up FinLocker, yes, we have a website. Yes, you can learn about us, but it's going to be tough to get access to our product. Now, for this audience, I'm totally open to give everybody a free access to our product, and we'll put that in the link somewhere and figure that out.
You got it.
So let's play this back and say, mortgage company ABC has made this product available. They have a branded version of FinLocker, and they've got, a landing page or a website, or they've invited a consumer, a prospect, to download this app. We're a mobile app as well as available on the web. And so essentially the way I think about this is if you're watching today and you're thinking about buying a home, and let's really narrow into the first-time home buyer, you're thinking about entering home ownership. So you're 6 months, 12 months, 18 months away from doing that. yes, it's always wise to engage a mortgage professional and a real estate finance professional, but we also provide you access to a set of tools, digital tools, that as a consumer, you can now see where you stand today, kind of have your own little sandbox to understand your own readiness. And so how do we do that? We allow you as a you as a consumer to link to your credit. So you'll have access to your credit score, all of your credit profile in real time. Every time that score updates, you'll be notified of the score change. We have a set of tools that sit on top of your credit profile that allow you as a consumer to model changes to your credit score. So let's say you're not quite where you think you want to be to apply for a mortgage, but you're not sure what you could do to improve your score by 20 points. Through our product, you can go into the simulator and either say, I'm going to reduce my credit card debt by $5,000. What does that do to my score? And it'll run a simulator and tell you what your new score would be. Or we have what we call a credit compass, which you could say, okay, I'm at a 630 today. What would it take to be a 650? And we'll come back with a recommended set of things that you could do over the next 6 to 12 months to improve your score. So a lot of engagement on credit. That's step one.
That's great. Just so because a lot of people that kind of tune into our show, they're from the mortgage business. They may be in origination. So what they understand about this is tools that they have access to as a professional. You've now taken those same tools, the what if simulator, or hey, how do I get my score up to X amount? And you've delivered that in an easy format directly to the user, who's the consumer.
And you've also aggregated that along with all the other tools you're about to describe into one place for the consumer, as opposed to having 4 or 5 different logins to different systems or not knowing where to find certain things. So I imagine there's quite a benefit there. In fact, I more than imagine it because I myself have a go bag being a vetted VA pro. So,
yeah, great segue, Jamie. I love it. So credit, I think we kind of understand that component of mortgage readiness, but there's much more that goes into being mortgage ready. And the heavier lift for most people is around the financial side of things, namely, how much am I spending today? So we allow you to link all of your financial accounts in one place and see all of your spending categorized across 2 or 3 credit cards, a checking account, et cetera. So kind of a single place to aggregate your financial life, see all of your spending. And then the same way you link those spending accounts, you can link to your asset accounts. And so now we give you a place to create a goal, a financial goal to save for a down payment, right? Closing costs, reserves. It's very important for homeowners to understand it's not just about how much do I need for the down payment and closing costs, but I need to have some reserves for life that happens after I own a home, right? And so setting those goals and then linking those goals to an actual account, bank account, now you have a tool to track your progress towards those goals. So we tell you where you kind of sit credit-wise. We're also understanding your income as a consumer. So based on your income, and now we know what your monthly liabilities are from your credit report, we can calculate DTI, which everyone in the industry knows, but if you're not in the industry, debt to income ratio. So how much of your monthly debt as a comparison to your monthly income do you have? And mortgage companies assess your ability to pay or repay using not just credit, but your debt to income ratio. And so we give the user, the consumer, kind of the same tools to calculate DTI that a lender would have, and then a set of journeys that can help you identify areas to improve that DTI so that you ultimately get to a place of mortgage readiness. And what we find is for the average consumer who doesn't understand the mortgage process, and let's be honest, for some of us that are in the industry, it can be an intense process. And so I think there's a lot of people that are like right on the cusp of being financially ready that are hesitant to move forward because they don't want the rejection. And so a product like FinLocker, again, gives you this kind of safe zone or a sandbox, where as a consumer, I can kind of do these things on my own. And then when I get to that place where the app says, hey, congratulations, you're ready, we can connect you directly to that loan officer that provided you the app to begin with. So I don't know if that helps paint the picture, but
it does. But I think too, one of the things we hear so much, obviously, Brad and I have a Amerifund. Obviously, we've both been in the mortgage side of the business for, many decades, not unlike yourself. And one of the things that I still see and hear so much of when we're talking to first-time home buyers and when our teams are talking to them is the fear of going in blind to conversation. So you talked about the fear of rejection, but the fear of rejection comes from the fear of the unknown. And the unknown comes, and this is particularly true with our veterans, the fear of the unknown comes from coming from an environment where we have a lot of veteran borrowers who are coming off of active duty military. Many of them have been stationed overseas and for whatever reason have not had the need for traditional credit, maybe not even utilities here in the US. Some of them have been on base housing. And for a lot of reasons, they haven't had the need to establish a lot of the traditional trade lines and resources that most other potential home buyers would have. And so they feel a sense of fear in not having any concept of where they're starting from. So they're coming to a loan officer feeling that they know nothing about where they're at. Folks who have served become masters of their craft. They are trained to know with certainty what their objectives are. And those individuals do not like, as a rule, walking into any situation where they're not informed.
Yeah.
Particularly when it's such a personal one, right?
Sadly, that's true with the veteran segment, but we know that it's true in our country as a whole because we just from a education perspective, we don't have a really strong formal financial literacy, financial preparedness curriculum that happens in our schools and beyond. And it's cool that we're starting to see this happen in certain states where they're mandating, but that's going to take a decade or longer to really, get a hold. And so you're exactly right, Jamie. I think in the case of the veterans, there are so many today who have this wonderful benefit and access to it, who are much closer, if not truly ready now. They just don't know. And we all have to do a better job of helping them understand that they are closer than they think. And there are tools and professionals that can help them kind of get that over that last hump.
100%. I think providing them with a tool like this, it gives them back the power to privately educate themselves on where they are, give them a baseline and a barometer to not walk into those conversations with a loan officer as blind and as unknowing as they might have been otherwise. And it's a huge thing. And again, you're right. It doesn't just, it's not at all relegated to veterans. We see it in every community. We especially, though, do see it in a lot of the underserved communities. It's a huge part of why advocacy has become such a passion of mine, why I work so closely with AIM to work toward financial literacy and education and reaching underserved communities to help not just the people that are on the precipice of homeownership, but the people that are currently in junior high and high school to understand the things that they need to begin to do and become aware of. Because I know growing up, nothing like that was available to me. And I'd venture to guess that even my 9-year-old daughter today probably has absolutely nothing. I don't see anything in her homework that has any reference to anything relating to financial literacy. So I think as a community, locally, statewide and federal, we need to do a better job. And I think as professionals in the lending community, we can start there by going backwards to teaching, giving education and resources here. FinLocker, obviously a huge, huge, huge part of that. And I'm glad to see you getting so many platforms to get the word out that this exists.
Yeah, there are consumer facing tools out in the marketplace that people can have access to. And I won't name the brands, but I think we all know who they are. And there are some very good ones. I have a few on my phone that I use from time to time for competitive analysis purposes. But are the most of them, the consumer is the product, meaning
Yes.
they're brought into this experience, and then there's a marketplace behind the experience where the consumer is kind of sold to the highest bidder, so to speak. And the way we've thought about our product, we've been very intentional. First off, our product is based on consumer permission, consumer control. So all of the data that the consumer links in the app is based on their permission. We don't scrape data from any place else. The consumer permissions the data to be brought into the app, and then we create those journeys and experiences on top of their data. And then the data is consumer controlled, meaning the loan officer or lender doesn't see anything that Brian has in his locker unless Brian gives Brad control to see this in order to help me with my goal or objective of mortgage readiness or to start my mortgage application. So consumer permission, consumer control is the foundation of everything we do.
Yeah, Brian, look, the FinLocker is set up to really create an environment that helps the consumer, or I should say helps the loan officer help the consumer to be prepared to buy a home, right?
Yes.
But you mentioned something to me offline, and you said, look, it's not just for that. This is for post-closing as well. So you get them through that goal. They acquire the home, and this helps to expedite that process. So even if you're, 18, 19, 20 years old, and you haven't even really figured out what you're going to do, maybe you're starting college or you're in college and you're like, but I do want to know what it takes to buy a house. It's never too soon to understand that process. And then once you get there and you accomplish that goal, talk to us about post-closing. How does this help?
Yeah, I love it. Let me state one thing quickly in the up funnel kind of readiness journey. And I think this is important. We're not out to disrupt the loan officer. In fact, we also don't believe that just sending a consumer to an app and expecting them to come back ready on their own is a reality. Some will, but most won't. Where we see success with our product is when a professional real estate finance professional uses our product in conjunction with their local financial literacy focus and their preparation. So again, we're not looking to disrupt the loan officer. We really are looking to extend the available tools for that loan officer to better serve their communities. And then Brad, to your point, much of the same tools that help me get ready for a mortgage, understanding my credit, understanding my budget, understanding my spending, still are important to me, maybe arguably are more important to me after I own a home, because now I got all these other things that are happening with me as a homeowner. And then for most homeowners, their home is their largest financial asset, and their mortgage is their largest financial liability. And so we allow the user, the consumer, to link that property address in the app, and we'll show you in real time your kind of estimated value of your home. And then you also are prompted to now link that new mortgage you just got in the app. And so you have this kind of app that gives you a complete picture of your financial life, including now your largest asset and your largest liability. And now the focus then in the app kind of pivots from home buying readiness to equity optimization. Mm-hmm. And so now for the professionals, the mortgage folks that are listening, watching today, this tool now can extend your professional engagement with your customer beyond the closing of the transaction. And most everybody has a strategy for staying engaged. And a lot of that includes, email campaigns and other strategies, which we think are great and that those should continue to happen. But now you can you can almost become that your home buyer's kind of family office, if you will, centered around their largest asset in the family.
So Brian, once this happens and they are in the home, they start to connect the mortgage. So, and they see the value and that sort of thing. What are the other things it helps them to do? Is there a savings aspect to it? Other goals that they can set for
Yep.
other acquisitions? Is there something with regard to rental properties and having income? And then once you tell us a little bit about all that, what are the aspirations for FinLocker? Like, what are the other things that are on the storyboard that are to come down the line?
There's a lot. As you know, you have your own technology platform. There's always the endless roadmap. So beyond, and I kind of said this in the beginning, we do a lot more beyond mortgage. We happen to, today the product happens to serve kind of the real estate finance vertical, but the financial tools, the understanding credit definitely expand and go beyond home ownership. So, in the app, I could set a goal for saving so maybe I'm a young couple who's their first time home buyers, have their first child. Now it's appropriate to start planning for that child's future. So perhaps you set a goal for saving for future college education. You have your second or third child, and it's like, well, we need a little more space. So now there's a goal for that move up home, or I want to I want to own a investment property. So the financial goals are endless that can be created and tracked in the app. All of the spending that happens across credit cards, checking accounts, any other place where spending happens can all be tracked. And that provides value beyond just mortgage and home ownership. There is another feature that I think is pretty cool in the app. It's we have native embedded real estate search. And so why is that important? For any of us that go search for real estate on some of the big brand sites out there, depending on how much you do on the site, you're all of a sudden getting pinged and inundated with, marketing messages, right? And so again, in the context of consumer permission, consumer control, we give you that kind of place to safely search and favorite and track properties without getting pinged from, a million different places, if you will, from a marketing perspective. So when we think of the homeownership journey doesn't end at buying a home. It's just starting for most people, right? So the tools are going to continue to extend and support that ongoing experience, including the next home you buy, or when's a good time to refinance and consolidate debt. All of that is kind of optimized in the app itself. As far as the roadmap, like I said, it's never ending. We are constantly getting user feedback from consumers on what they'd love to see us do more of, do less of, do differently. And so we take that feedback. We have a small group of our business partner lender clients that we then kind of bounce that feedback off to, because they're the ones buying the license to our product to give to their customers. And then that feedback goes into our roadmap. So we have people want to understand beyond mortgage their readiness for personal loans, credit cards, auto loans. So we're starting to kind of build the journeys and think about the journeys that would extend beyond buying a home and getting a mortgage. There's other products and services that make sense in a product like ours, like home and auto insurance. So we're exploring opportunities to use the same data that drives home ownership and mortgage readiness to optimize insurance. So do I have the best combination of coverage and cost for home and auto? So kind of thinking about other financial services, financial products that make sense for a consumer. Our pie in the sky, kind of long-term plan would be, I want to become a verb. So when you say Venmo
Sure.
me,
Right.
$10 or whatever, we want to become a verb, can I share my locker with you at the dealership to, I'm already qualified. I know I'm approved because all my data's here. Here's my QR code, scan it, and we're done. Right. So
Nice.
we want to get to this place where formal loan application doesn't happen anymore. It's persistent based on the consumer's direct source data. And they just share access to that persistent approval to enable whatever financial services product they're trying to transact on. That's pie in the sky. That's that long vision.
I'll tell you what, it may be pie in the sky, but that is in the future. What we go through for lending, for mortgage lending, even today in 2023, is so invasive. When we've got the technology to be able to streamline it, it exists today. But as you know, with anything, adoption, and frankly, because of regulation, heavy regulation in our industry, it just takes a long time. But eventually, it should get there. It will get there. Things will happen a lot easier, and you're bringing it one step closer to the consumer. So, I love what you guys are doing over there, Brian. Really love it. Do you want to ask?
Are we going to ask the question?
Yeah.
Are we ready for the final question? The final question is our favorite question, and I always enjoy asking it to folks like you who've been in any industry for a long period of time, because it's a reflective question. The question is, what would you tell 20-something-year-old Brian Vieaux if you could sit down and talk to him today?
There's a whole lot, but I mean, I go back to one of the things that I think we see today. It's a generational thing. So I'm going to sound like the get off my lawn old guy, but today it seems like there's a lot of like instant gratification that people expect and need. And I'm talking about more about the career. And what I would tell today's 20-something person who's kind of starting their work life or thinking about that journey towards work life is nothing is promised, nothing is given, everything is earned. And so every day you've got to go out and slug it out to earn, whatever is on the other side of that, whatever that entitlement is that you think you're entitled to. You're not entitled to it. You have to earn it. And anything worthwhile is not easy. And so you have to be, here's what I would say. And it took me a long time to get here. And when I was 51, I decided to leave the kind of cushy confines of corporate, mortgage America and go take a chance on this fintech startup at FinLocker. And what I would tell my 20-something self is take a swing now.
Yeah.
Try now, take a swing now, fail, try again, fail, try again, and just keep swinging, and because you will win. And I wish somebody would have told me that when I was 20 versus when I was 51, and I kind of figured it out on my own. Not that I would trade anything, but I think that would be the advice: is just take a swing, bet on yourself, and take a swing.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I do too.
I often wonder how many of today's generation would print out their resumes like many of us did, and like you described, and drive around to all the buildings of all the businesses and say, here's my resume, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, it is always super cool to sit down and talk to you, whether we run into each other at a conference to get to hang out, whether we get to do something cool like this and talk about our respective businesses. Always enjoy you. Love what you're doing. So excited to see. I'm excited to see what FinLocker has done in such a short time. Cannot wait to see where you go from here. I will be cheering you on.
And we'll definitely get that link from you. So everybody, go below in the in the description, and you'll find a free link to access the software. And if you're a mortgage professional and you want direct access to Brian, how can they reach you?
LinkedIn's the best place to get me. I'm there. Or go to our FinLocker LinkedIn page, and I'm there as well. And then I'm going to give everyone access to our friends and family version, which we call FinLocker, KIN.
That's fun.
Locker. So everyone that's watching, you're our friends, so you'll get access to our FinLocker. It's free. You can play with it. Nobody's going to see what you're doing, and just would love feedback along the way as well.
Appreciate that so much. Thanks, Brian. It's been great hanging out with you today.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Get Real 411 is hosted by Brad Rice and Jamie Cavanaugh, produced by Stuart Gelin, and recorded live from the AmeriFund Home Loans studio in Simi Valley, California. You can learn more about the show at getreal411.com and watch full episodes on YouTube. If you're interested in being a guest on Get Real 411, email booking@getreal411.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.